So we put this PowerPoint together and we hope you will use it, and we can always give it to you later on. So what do we know about schooling options in the state of Indiana? Indiana enrollment by school type from the 14-15 year. 82% of the children in the state are in traditional public schools, but 7% are in schools of choice out of district. So 74,000, if you want to talk about the largest school choice oriented program in the state of Indiana, you're looking at the public to public transfer, where dollars follow kids to the school of their choice. 74,000 children are doing that, of which 5,000 are going into IPS. So there are 5,000 families that are choosing schools in Indianapolis Public Schools. We also have charter schools, of which are 3% of the state, 38,000 children. Accredited non-public schools are about 55,000 children. These are families that are choosing to pay. And then the voucher choice scholarship program are 29,148, which we expect to go up to around 33,000. So if we look at the overall option environment here, you're looking at an environment where 18% of the families in the state are choosing things outside of their assigned school. That's a significant increase. In Indianapolis, for example, we know that's different. In Indianapolis, the latest data is that 30% of the families are choosing charter schools. So you're talking about a more well-rounded system of education that's happening based on parent desires. So let's take a look quickly at traditional schools. There, as you all know better than anyone, 1,800 schools serving about 89% of the population, if you include the public to public transit. What we want to do here is make sure you understood, and you know this, the funding sources for schools. Traditional schools get federal, state, and local money. They get all three sectors of funding. Their accountability mechanisms are the State Board of Education can intervene in public schools after 4 consecutive F ratings. So the State Board can intervene after 4 F ratings. Now, prior to the passage of 1638, as you all know, that required 6. So schools have to be in F ratings for 4 years in a row before the State Board of Education can act. There are 270 school corporations, so we have 292 school corporations in the state of Indiana, of which 270 are accepting out of district students. So think about that when they say that no one wants options. Public to public transfer, 270 districts are paid. 74,000 students, as I said, in traditional public schools outside of their assigned district, of which more than 5,000 are not yet. So that's one type of options that families have. Let's take a look at charter schools. Charter schools, 90 charter schools serving 3% of the student population. Their eligibility, charter schools must accept all students, and if they're oversubscribed, conduct a lottery. They're prohibited from setting enrollment guidelines. Their funding, however, is only 2 sources, state and federal. Now they do have the opportunity of getting private funding to be held, so they do have 3 sources, but they don't have the local. Charters do not receive, and on average, public schools receive about $3,000 in local tax. I know there are people here who know more about this than I do, but they're not getting that chunk of funding. Accountability, and you'll hear more of this from Marcus. Charters are required to get the ISTEP test and required to receive an A to F rating, and authorizers can close schools at any time. The mayor's office is here, and I'm sure they will be able to happily tell you that they're holding schools accountable if they're failing. And they can do that within a 5-year window. They don't have to do it after 4 F ratings. And the State Board of Education has been given the authority to intervene. So whenever you hear the conversation about accountability, right, charter schools are being held to account by the State Board of Education in the same way that traditional public schools are. The State Board can intervene. Now if you look at the scholarship program, the voucher program, about 32,954 students have enrolled this year in the choice program. There are 318 participating schools. So if you look at it, now there are 1,800 schools, 90 schools at 318. So the robust environment of choice is beginning to happen. Now the funding sources, scholarship program only comes from state funding, and that state funding is only a portion of what this district has received for that child. And I'll go over that in a minute. The average voucher amount in 1450 was $3,977. The average public school tuition support was over $6,300. So if you think about it, a child in IPS, Indianapolis Public Schools, a low-income child, who goes to a traditional school, gets all the public money from the state, federal, loan, somewhere averaging around $13,000. If they go to a charter school, Marcus, they get how much?
Depends on the charter school.
Depends on the church school. Yours children get roughly?
Foundation's about almost 6. Federal, almost 7,000.
So a charter school in Indianapolis gets $7,000. Public school gets $13,000, and the charter school, the voucher school, will get $3,900 on average. That's the same child. So as you think about that, as you think about funding, you've got to think about that issue. Accountability. The schools that are participating in the scholarship program must administer ISAP, and they are given an A to F rating. What's unique about our program here in the state of Indiana is that private schools who are participating in the choice program, if they get a D or an F for any 2 consecutive years, will not be allowed to take new voucher students the third year. That's incredibly accountable. Moreover, parents can get up and walk out anytime anyway. So if you're looking at the robust environment of accountability, there are different types of accountability, and it's working in different ways. In the first year of the voucher program, first year was eligible, 7 private schools were received 2 Ds and 2 Fs. 5 of them the next year got off that list. Improving half the factor because they wanted to not be able to lose the ability to take students. So then if you look at the next type of student eligibility, everyone knows that the voucher program is 100 to 150% free and reduced price lunch. Children with disabilities requiring special education must be below 200%. We have multiple pathways in this program. Siblings can be accepted. Students who live in a family school district and are members of a household with less than 150 can be accepted. An individual who has received a choice scholarship the prior year, but who has an increase in their family income up to 200% is also allowed to be accepted. And an individual who previously received a scholarship, tax credit scholarship, is also accepted. So we have multiple pathways into the program for families of different needs. Schools must be accredited and administer state assessment. They must receive letter grades, and they're not allowed to set their admission standards differently for choice students as every other student. And if they're oversubscribed, they're required to conduct a lottery. So this is the environment for choice in the state. Now you have a scholarship program. So you've got traditional public schools, you've got public to public transfer, you've got charter schools, you've got choice scholarships, and you have the tax credit scholarship program. Student scholarships, the program is students and donors. There are 5 scholarship granting organizations. Just so you know, the lingo of SGO is a scholarship granting organizations, partnering with 318 private schools. There are $12,421, right? So let me fix it. $12,421,000 were awarded to about 9,000 individuals last year. So this is private philanthropy coming in to nonprofit organizations to give out scholarships to lower income families. The average scholarship size is $1,361. Now the choice, the IQ Trust has a particular focus on low-income families. And that scholarship amount is still able to get families with low-income means into private school and work. They must have a family income of below 200%. Donors receive a 50% state tax credit. So the cap is now $9.5 million for fiscal year 17. There are 3,400 donors that are given to this program. Most of them are individuals. And there actually was more given, as you might imagine, than actually was. So if the program is 50%, to get to the 12 million, you get to 24 million to be able to max it out. So 16 million was given in fiscal year 15. So if you look at it, this is the landscape of choice. Options are 82%, 7 and 18%. And that's going to change continuously over time as more and more charters get along, more and more scholarship programs, and more public schools create magnet programs and options for families within their district and out of their district. So if education is a proper concern in this conversation, then Indiana is actually doing a pretty good job, not only of educating all the citizens, but making sure that they're being held to account. The last thing I think we want to add before we move to our panel. So what we've done with our panel here is set up, we have a scholarship granting organization, we have a charter school, we have a private school, and we have a public school family. And public school foundation, actually, that was great. here to talk about all the different options and why they're choosing. The last thing I want to talk about is the types of students in schools. So if you look at ethnicity and poverty by school type in 2014-15, this of course changes over different districts, we know that, but we're looking at averages based on the IDOE numbers. In traditional public schools, 71% of the children in traditional public schools are white, 11% are African American, 10% or so are Hispanic, and 6.8% are other or multiracial. If you look at public charter schools, 41.9%, almost 42% of the children in public charter schools are children of color. 40% are white, 11% are Hispanic. If you look at the scholarship program, 61% are white, 17% are Hispanic. So the scholarship program is working very well for Hispanic families to give them different options. But all of these are ethnicity and poverty by race are higher than the traditional schools in terms of allowing children of color to get into those school systems. So if your goal is to ensure that families who need it and families with different options are getting them, as legislators, then you're succeeding. And you're giving families more school days. So I said that only as the framework for the first 10 minutes of this conversation to let you know that if education is our whole concern, if systemic education reform is our whole concern, then the state of Indiana is on the right track. It's holding schools to account, and the eligibility provisions are perfectly set for how each school type works. So with that as framework, we're going to start asking some questions to our panelists, and they're sitting back there, and I'll pass the mic back and forth. So